See if that works.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, thanks
Feeling
for
good.
joining us. I know it was also last minute. We've been texting away at each other, haven't we? And
Yeah.
I know we tried to get it in the diary a little while ago, but you haven't been totally on track, have you?
No, and I didn't want to do something and then feel like I'm sick and I need to go and throw up. So I'm feeling
Yeah.
good today. So I'm kind of happy
Oh,
it worked out this way.
oh, well, you're looking amazing, and
Thank you.
I really wanted just to have this chat with you too, because I'm really aware that I often do talks on breast cancer, and I don't do enough, I don't think, on secondaries, and it's so important that we, you know, recognize that it's very much a thing, and those people that are outside of the breast cancer world don't realize the significance of secondary breast cancer. I know lots of people meet me with like confused faces and be like, what does that mean? You know, and it's you know, it's a very different ball game, isn't it?
It's very different. And even for me, I never really knew about stage 4 or secondary breast cancer going through my own treatment.
Yeah.
It's only now that I'm having to explain people, and then I realize that no one really understands what stage 4 cancer is, and it's hard because you have to constantly explain that there's no cure.
Mm.
I have a certain amount of drugs available to me, and once they stop working, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard thing for people to accept,
It's
mainly
very
family.
it's very black and white, isn't it? Like that. And I guess when you're constantly having to repeat this to people, it must be hard because you've got to take on their reaction to it. I should think sometimes there's probably like an awkwardness, or people get emotional, I expect, because they probably just don't know how to respond.
Yeah, there's so many different, like, I think because I'm really open about it, sometimes
Yeah.
I'll be talking to a complete stranger and I'll just tell them that I've got stage 4 cancer, and they feel awful
Yeah,
and
I
they
bet.
don't know what to say, how to manage it. And then there's some people who are overly positive and will tell
Mm.
you it's fine, you can beat it. And I'm the most positive person in the world.
I
Trust
know,
me.
which is why I brought you on today, because I love following you, and I encourage everybody to follow you, because
Thank you.
you are so I just feel like you take everything in your stride, and even on those days where you're feeling sick and you're really run down and feeling rough, you share that as well. But then, you know, you click through the stories and then you're back on top of the world again, and it's like
Yeah.
I feel like you really appreciate those tiny moments that
Oh,
you
I
get,
do.
especially with your gorgeous daughter. I
Oh,
mean,
thank you. Yeah, I
that must
do.
really help.
Yeah, I mean, when I decided to share my story, I mean, initially when I started to share my story was from a point of view of someone who has recovered from primary breast cancer and is starting, you know, to find her feet again.
Mm.
And then when stage 4 cancer came on board, I really wanted to be completely transparent. I
Mm.
wanted people to really see what it's like to live with
Mm.
stage 4 cancer, and that is my reality. That
Yeah.
is my new normal for the
Mm.
rest of my life now. It's the anxiety of having scans every couple of weeks. It's the anxiety of having to go back to chemo when I'm already feeling so fatigued and tired.
Mm.
And I just wanted to be really honest,
Yeah.
and equally, I am taking my diagnosis as okay, I know my time might be limited, but I'm still living and I'm still here.
Mm.
And I want people to see that it can be really bad, but then I have really good days.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just go back. So you had a primary triple negative diagnosis, didn't you? And was that 2019?
That was July 18.
July 18. So that was the same year that I had my diagnosis. So
Yeah.
so 2018. So you went through all your chemo. Did you have surgery as well?
Yes, I started with EC. So I had, God, I can't even remember, but I think it was like something like 16 rounds of chemo.
Mm,
Then I had a lumpectomy, and then I had 31 rounds of radiotherapy.
yeah.
And for triple negative breast cancer, once you finish your treatment, at the time, there
Yeah.
was nothing else for me to take. There were no pills. There was nothing offered. You just go home and call
Hope
us.
for the best, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awful, awful. But I do know that I think nowadays when people finish treatment for triple negative, they get given tablets that they can take for a certain amount of time. Um, that
Ah,
wasn't
that's interesting. I
available.
didn't know that. That must be quite new then.
I think so. It's like preventative. There's a few ladies that I speak to, and I know that they are taking these pills,
Right.
which I think it's amazing because I
Yeah.
didn't have that option. But then
Right.
equally, I had an amazing response to my treatment. I responded well to chemo.
Yeah.
There were clear margins when I had my lumpectomy.
Yeah.
I had the best response that you can think of. So they did not think that my cancer would have come back. But
And
unfortunately,
you didn't think so either. So it was then what, a year later that you started having chest pain, is that right?
well, I started off with pain in my spine. So a
Mm.
few months after I finished my treatment, I always complained about struggling to sit down. I had so much pain in my coccyx and my spine. And because I've got a slip disc at the top of my spine, the doctors were saying to me that it was the
Part of
effects of
that.
chemo. I know, effects of
Ah,
chemo to my bones. It had weakened them. So it was causing this pain to
right.
radiate.
So
So I,
what sort of pain is it? Is it like you've just like run a marathon, like in your body, it just like aches through like tiredness, or is it like
no,
you've
no.
had, like a trauma to it or something?
It's, yeah, it's a bit like someone had hit me in my spine with a hammer. Like it was
Oh
awful
God.
pain to sit down. I'd have to
Yeah.
constantly be changing my position in which I was sitting down.
Mm,
So they decided to give me a spinal injection. So I had it on my coccyx and at the top of my spine
mm.
to sort of, it numbs the pain.
Like a
Um,
steroid injection, that sort of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it worked for a little bit, but the pain kind of came back worse.
Mm.
And I had a lot of pain on the side, always on the left. And it got to a point where it just started to get really, really bad. And at the same time, I would get really out of breath when I was walking uphill. I
Right.
love going on my walks, and I would get
Yeah.
out of breath and my heart would beat really, really fast, like it had just ran a marathon.
And that's unusual for you because you're quite fit generally, aren't
Yeah, I
you?
go to the gym, I go for walks, and I
Yeah.
understand it's a different kind of out of breath. This is the bit that I have to
Ah, okay.
explain. It's not like you've just done a running class and you're just trying to catch your breath. It it was my heart going fast and me
Yeah.
having to feel lightheaded and not understand what was going on. And it was literally just sometimes going up the stairs in my house.
Oh
So
wow. Yeah.
and I kept complaining to the doctors, and constantly it was, it's the side effects of chemo, or it's the side effect of radiotherapy.
Did you, do you feel like you should, do you wish that they had scanned you at that point?
Well, they did.
Ah,
Um,
right.
they scanned my spine. At one point, I started to feel weakness on the left of my body, so my arm would become really dead.
Mm.
But I have lymphedema now in my arm, and then
Ah,
sometimes my leg, I would be walking and it would lock. I would get a pain, a sharp
oh,
pain to my bones, like a stabbing pain to my bones.
yeah.
And so then they would do an x-ray to my leg and to my arm. And of course, that's not where the cancer was. So all the
No.
scans would come back as everything is okay. There's nothing wrong. And the annoying part is that every time I went to my GP, I left feeling like it was all in my head, like I was crazy every time that I mentioned a different side effect that I was having. And it was quite difficult because I started to feel like maybe I'm a hypochondriac, like maybe
Yeah.
there is something wrong with me. And I remember saying to my friend when it got really bad, I said to her, I'm going in and they're sending me for physio. I know it's not physio. I can't sleep at night. It got to a point where I couldn't lie down flat or turn my neck. And then I started to have stabbing pains to my chest.
Right.
And at one point I said to the doctor, I feel like I'm having a heart attack. Like the shooting pain was so bad, I would drop to the floor with my daughter next to me, and I thought I was about to have a heart attack. I don't know what a heart attack feels like, but because it was so painful and so sharp, that's what I thought it was. And I told the doctor and they said, oh, well, that's not what a heart attack is like. And I was like, okay, but something is not right. So they gave me a heart monitor to put on my heart, walk around with it for 7 days. And of course, everything came back as okay because there's nothing wrong with my heart.
Oh man. Right.
So it was just a lot of symptoms and a lot of me going back to the doctor, a lot of me calling my nurses, my cancer nurses, and saying, look, this is what I'm experiencing. And they would be like, we don't think it's the cancer coming back. You need to go to the GP. Then the GP would send me to them. So I kind of kept
Oh my
going.
gosh. And was this during the pandemic?
Yes.
So you had
That's when it got
that.
really bad.
That's really hard because that you know potentially would slow things up as well. You know, with the strain that was on the NHS. So that must
100%. Because every time that I would call, they would give me a different painkiller, and every painkiller that they would give me would knock me out. Like I couldn't catch my own, like I didn't know what I was saying. I couldn't think, I couldn't get out of bed. All I wanted to do was sleep. And it got to a point where I said to them, I don't want any painkillers because I'm a mom. I've got things to do. I don't have time to lie down in the sofa and be completely out of it like I'm high on drugs. And I was the one who constantly kept pushing and pushing and pushing to see different people, different doctors. So
thank God you did. So they then discovered that it had.
no, actually, what happened was after me doing all these different tests and everything, my routine MRI scan with contrast dye was
Oh,
coming
don't
up.
tell me they found it from the routine MRI. So you've been going through all those symptoms, but it was that found it. Oh my gosh.
And it was a scan that when you turn 40, so when you turn 40 on the NHS, you no longer get the scan. And I actually had to push to have the scan because they didn't want to give it to me at one point. And I was like, well, I need that scan. It's my last one. I'm going to have it. So it took a lot of me speaking to my previous consultant and saying, well, I want to make sure it was me being on top of it, saying, this is the deadline. I need my scan.
And why wouldn't they give that scan to you?
Because I had been a private patient before and my treatment got moved over to the NHS.
Right.
And because of when it transitioned,
they
were like, well, you're already going to turn 40. It's that year. So you don't really need that scan. And I was like, yes, I do. And I want my scan.
That makes no sense.
That's the part I think that, I mean, I can't even bear to think of what would have happened had I not had that scan. They wouldn't have picked it up at all. I would have gone another year of pain, of complaining and getting nowhere. And also it becoming even worse than what it already is. I mean, there's no reversing where I'm at now, really.
Yeah.
But
So where are you at? What did they discover?
so they discovered that my triple negative breast cancer had come back, and it had moved away from my breasts, and it's in my lymph nodes, and my chest wall, and it's
Right.
all on the left side, still very close to where my primary cancer was. And you can't operate. Radiotherapy doesn't seem to be an option for me.
Right.
So it is triple negative again. They've given me like some other information, which I always forget. It's like there's a slight change. It's triple negative, but it's tested positive for something else.
Right.
And yeah, it's a horrible. I think when it's triple negative and it's stage 4, like stage 4 is stage 4, it's bad, whichever type it is.
Mm.
But I don't have many drug options. It was
So
a
it,
very tough way of diagnosing me. It was I think I'm traumatized from it still, to be completely honest.
I can well imagine. Jess is just asking, did you have it in your lymph nodes at the primary as well? Did they check your
No,
lymph nodes?
no, my lymph nodes were completely clear. I had my main lymph node under my arm taken, and I had clear margins.
That was all
Everything
clear.
was okay. Everything was clear. Yeah. So it just goes to show that how aggressive triple negative can
Yeah.
be. And for me, I never really knew what to look out for. I know that
Yeah.
my breast surgeon at the time, he said, if you have a pain of any sort or any symptom that doesn't go away after a
Yeah.
week, then it's a problem and it needs checking.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Mine was pain. It was pure pain in my
Mm.
spine that would not go
I
away.
mean, that's all well and good, that advice, but if the GPs or whatever don't listen to you and just keep
And
giving
it's
you
pointless.
painkillers, it's absolutely pointless.
Yeah, I get the feeling that the GPs don't really know what to look out for. I don't think that they are the right point of contact to speak to. The only problem is that you've got the nurses that you have to call with your symptoms. And at time, well, maybe for me, because it was during a pandemic and they didn't want people to come in and to be
Yeah.
examined, I was always kind of pushed to the GP. You
Yeah, of
just need
course.
painkillers, you need
Yeah.
this, you need that. Um, so I don't know if, now it's probably better. Maybe the nurses are having time to see more patients than they did
Mm.
when I was going through it.
Mm. So I'm a mum as well, and I remember when I had my primary diagnosis, those conversations with my kids were pretty tough.
Mm.
How has it been for you with your daughter?
Um,
She
so
looks like a tough like she
she
looks like she
is.
loves life like you.
She really is. And I think because I had been really open with her from the beginning. So when I was first diagnosed, she was 6, about to turn 7. And I think at that age, she understood what was going
Yeah.
on, but I think she showed a lot more emotion, and it was easier to understand how she was feeling about it.
Yeah.
This time, she was about to turn 11, much older, much more aware of
Yeah.
everything. And I think the first time that I told her, I'm not quite sure she understood um, what stage 4 meant. And I
Mm-hmm.
think in a way, I probably protected myself in some
Yeah.
way by not really telling her what was
Yeah.
going on. Um, and then I decided, okay, well, I need to really explain to her what this means. And it was so difficult that the only way I actually could do it was to actually read my letter, my
Mm.
diagnosis letter. and
Mhm.
it's a tough letter. And she broke down into tears, and we hugged, and I always tell her that as long as I've got her, like, I'm never gonna, give up, and I
Yeah.
will keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's hard because on the days that I'm not feeling so good, I can see that she feels really sad.
Yeah.
And but then when I feel really good, she's upbeat as well.
Yeah. And do
And
you feel well enough, like generally, like to go out and do stuff with her?
yeah, some days I do. I have to say this drug, it is the accumulation of it is making me weaker. But
Right.
when I have good days, I have really good days. Like right
Yeah.
now, like today, I've not felt like vomiting. I've not, I feel tired. I feel really exhausted. Like I tried to go to the gym. So today I danced a little bit, but I
Wow.
get out of
Good for
breath
you.
really quickly. So
Yeah.
right now, I'm pretty much ready to go to bed and sleep. I'm that
Yeah.
tired already.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but on
But
good
you've
days,
got out and you've had a dance. Like that's quite amazing.
yeah, but I'll do that and I'm already tired, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
I
and
follow, do you follow Bow Babe?
yes, I love her.
Yeah. So she's a friend of mine, and I loved her post, so either today or yesterday, that she made it out into the back garden and she sat in the sunshine for a bit, and she was just taking those small wins, and living each day as they can. I admire it so much that you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing,
Yeah,
and
we have to, because the
yeah.
dark days are really dark, and you
Mm,
don't feel great. And, the last couple of weeks have been really, really rough for me.
mm.
Um,
How,
not
how
being
often are you in hospital? How often do you go in?
so well, the last couple of weeks, I felt like I was in hospital every single day.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to, so I have a 21-day cycle. So
Right.
I've got day one chemo, then day 8, then I've got 11-day break. So it's like twice a month, 3 times, like twice a month, I have chemo basically. I think that's kind of like how it works.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, because this chemo drug has kind of really made my blood platelets and like literally everything is like rock bottom.
Mm.
I've had to miss quite a few chemos to allow my body to
Right.
recover. Yeah, but it's working, it's doing
Mm.
something.
Yeah.
My body is responding to treatment. So, you know,
That's. I also see on your post that you're really into your nutrition and your food. That must help.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously it's easier because most of the time I don't have a lot of appetite. Like
Right.
on a good day, I would say I have one full meal. Like
Right. Okay.
I have to eat little and often,
Yeah.
so snacking, um, juicing. I mean, I always did my smoothies the first time around. I
Yeah.
like it. Now I'm trying to juice. I'm
Mm.
trying to do anything that's gonna make my immune system strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Do you losing weight by not eating so much? Or are you not too bad?
yeah, because sometimes I'm eating and then of course I'm being sick.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not staying in, but my oncologist said it doesn't matter, even if you throw up, your body's still retaining all the nutrients. So
Right. Okay.
she said, keep
Keep
eating,
at
keep
it.
drinking,
Yeah.
which, it's easier said than done, because of course, if I'm feeling like I want to vomit half of the time, eating is not
No,
easy
it's the
at
no,
all.
it's the last thing you're gonna want to
And
do.
I love food, so
Yeah,
not being
yeah,
able to eat the things that I want
yeah,
is hard. But right now I'm feeling good, so I'm eating everything, like
yeah,
anything, like
yeah, yeah. I don't blame you. The other thing that I love about following you, and I know that this sounds dead shallow, but I love your fashion. I love what you wear. I
oh,
love
thank
your
you.
look. I've always got like, oh my God, I want those trainers. I want these. I want that.
Oh,
Like, how do you sort of get that like, I don't know, like the why you always just make yourself look so amazing. Does it help you to sort of mentally feel in a better place if you feel that you're, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I'm a fashion girl anyway. Like I love clothes, I love shoes, and I like taking care of myself. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it's vain at all. Like I think
No.
you have to show yourself love, and I like
Mm.
taking care of me. I know how important it is that
Mm.
I feel good, because if I feel good, then everything else around me is like good energy. My daughter feels good, and it's important.
Yeah.
And the first time around with chemo, I realized very quickly that if I didn't make myself look and feel good,
Yeah.
I would have a horrible day. So even if I feel rubbish, I'll go, I'll put my makeup on,
Mm.
I'll fix my hair. Even when I didn't have any hair, I put a wig on.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter.
It's
Anything to make me
amazing
feel
how
good.
it makes just makes you feel so much better, and it makes you feel like you can take the day on a lot better if you feel like you know, you look half decent.
Exactly. And you know how it is when you have chemo, like your skin, like your color changes,
Oh my
you
God,
know,
yeah.
you go a bit like yellow, like I don't
Yellow.
know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, my mom, there were days my mom would say to me, "You look a bit gray today." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So put some makeup on, and it just makes you feel
Yeah.
better. And I think we have to do whatever it takes to feel good. And if it
Yeah.
means, you know, putting a wig on, I don't know, getting a new t-shirt that makes you feel good,
Yeah.
putting the dress on. You know,
Yes.
I went out the other night and I put a dress on, and I was like, oh my God, like I was so happy to
Was
put,
that the black dress with all the
yeah.
bits? I mean, flipping heck. Everyone's got to go and have a look at that dress. It was something else. You looked
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
Absolutely
But
amazing.
because I felt so unwell for so
Yeah.
long, you know, those little moments of feeling
Yeah.
good mean
Yeah.
so much. And
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure I would be putting like my wedding dress on again. You know, if you just do what you want to do
yeah,
what
you
makes
have
you
to.
feel good.
Yeah, you have to. You
And
have
in
to.
terms of your awareness raising, the fact that you're sharing your story so openly, what is the main kind of message that is important to you to get across from your experience, would you say?
You know what? Initially, it was important for me to make sure that young women and, you know, especially, you know, women from my community, like, you know, mixed race, black, brown, I wanted them to understand that cancer is very real and that it can happen to any of us at any age.
Mm,
So for me, it was really to bring awareness.
mm.
And even if, you know, me posting one hair picture made one girl look and go, oh, okay, I better go check my breasts. For
Yes.
me, that was really the why I wanted to share my story initially. Now that I'm stage 4, it's really important to just keep pushing for people to understand what the symptoms are, that stage 4 is what's killing women, not primary breast cancer.
Mm.
And to also hopefully find a way of making sure that the system changes, because
And it needs more funding. It
it needs
needs
more.
more research
Yeah, it
into,
really does. It doesn't work to have, you know, scans. You know, for me, a mammogram would have never picked up my cancer. So for me,
yeah.
it's important that they are doing the right scans. You know, ideally, I'd love that this contrast dye MRI scan is something that it's ongoing for
Mm.
women who have
Yeah.
had breast cancer instead of just a yearly mammogram.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough, especially with triple negative cancer,
Mm.
because it doesn't usually tend to come back again to the breast. It tends to
That's
come
right.
back to other parts of the body, which then kills you. because it's so aggressive.
Mm.
And, you know, I hope that I find a way to make a change or an impact in any sort of way. But for now, I do what I can just by sharing my story and making people aware of, you know, the risks, and just to know their bodies and be empowered to keep pushing to get an answer if they don't feel happy with what they're getting from their GP.
Well, I just think, Nina, if that is what you set out to do, that is 100% what you're achieving, and you do it with bells on, and you look fantastic whilst you're doing it. And we are, and a lot of people have been saying today, they're just this evening, that they're just absolutely in awe of you. And thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think it will help. Keep doing what you're doing. I think it will help so many people, and like you said, especially from your community, if people, you know, see you, they might see themselves in you and think, right, I need to go and get myself checked. It's so important. We've got to keep banging that drum for as long as we possibly can. Thank you so much for your time, and I won't take up any more of your time either, but I'd love to catch up with you another time and see how you're getting on. Yeah. And if anybody wants to follow Nina, it's at Frodays. Is that how you say it? Frodays
with 2 S's.
with 2 S's.
A bit more special.
Yeah. And thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining us. I hugely appreciate it, and we'll see you again soon. All right, Nina.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.